And a good Thursday evening, everybody. I'm meteorologist Tim Padajis here with your tropical update in the Atlantic Basin. We're watching two areas, none of which are named, but they are labeled as PTC, Potential Tropical Cyclone 2. Talking about this one for a couple days now, located in the southern Caribbean. And Invest 95L, an area of disturbed weather that we're investigating. It's coined 95L, and that's in the northwestern portions of the Gulf of Mexico. Today, final day of June. First month of the 6-month hurricane season, checked off the list. All right, PTC2s, all aboard the struggle bus. This thing has struggled to organize due to how fast it's ripping through the southern Caribbean. Doesn't have that defined center. In fact, I was just reading the latest advisory from the Hurricane Center. They've got Hurricane Hunter aircraft, I'll show you that in a second, out in the storm. They do say, however, it is slightly more organized than it was, and that was expected to occur as it's now over open waters, not dealing with the northern coast of South America anymore, disrupting its circulation. Invest 95L has also done some things that were not foreseen in the prediction of what it would be doing in the future here. Invest 95L has changed direction, so that will keep it over water a little bit longer. I don't think that's going to change its overall impacts to Southeast Texas, but it's interesting to see that change occurring a little bit ahead of time. That's the thing with investigative areas. There's no defined center really, so it's hard to pinpoint exactly where they'll set up and where they'll go. Now, once Bonnie does develop, which it will before it strikes Nicaragua or Costa Rica within the next 18 hours or so, it will go into the record books, and I'm going to show you why. It's not like it's setting a record of its own, but it's going to join a rare list of storms that have actually transitioned basins, have gone from the Atlantic to Pacific or Pacific to Atlantic, and have maintained their names. All right, here's a look at the system now. Potential tropical cyclone number 2. Mouthful, be easier just to call this thing TS Bonnie. Not quite there yet, though. Here it is, looking a little bit better on infrared satellite imagery. What this is, what you're looking at, is the infrared satellite telling us the temperatures of the cloud tops. Colder they are, the stronger the thunderstorm activity is. We know which ones are colder than warmer ones is because you see the black shades and white shades, and in the last couple frames, that flaring up near the center, that's what has eluded this system the entirety of its life. We haven't seen convection developing and swirling around a defined center, a closed center of circulation. Don't have that yet. So, development chance, 90% within 2 days. That'll take it well inland, and 90% chance within 5 days. That's interesting in and of its own right, because at that point, it'll be into the Pacific Basin and will actually begin to re-strengthen. All right, this is a look at the tropical cyclone advisory list. We've talked about this many times. We have the 4 o'clock advisory. We just got the 7 p.m. advisory out. If there's going to be any track changes, that'll come out at 10 o'clock tonight. I don't expect much change. Overall, this track has been pretty straightforward, due west into Nicaragua and Costa Rica. This is an interesting image, too. Now, in and of itself, not much. It's warnings and watches, right? So we've got tropical storm warnings along the coast of Nicaragua and Costa Rica. On the other side, on the Pacific coasts, tropical storm watches, because as this transitions over Central America and reemerges, it'll whip some winds onshore here as well, so tropical storm conditions expected in those coastal areas as well. And at this point, it's actually probably going to start to deepen once it hits these warm waters in the eastern portions of the Pacific there as it begins its re-intensification process after briefly being weakened with the land interaction. All right, so why the holdup with PTC2 becoming or getting that upgrade to Bonnie? Well, it's too quick for its own good. It has been flying through the southern Caribbean, at one point moving to the west at 30 miles an hour. Now, there are studies out there that say that any storms that travel faster than, I think it's like 17 or 18 miles per hour, it's not conducive for it to develop because it just can't take advantage of the environmental conditions where it's located. The slower movement allows it to really transfer that heat off the surface of the ocean. This is still moving fast, although it is a slowdown from yesterday at 30, but the last 4 updates have not slowed this down very much. So this is the brand new update at 7 p.m. It's still moving at 20 miles per hour. Pressure, modest drops. 1,005 millibars yesterday, it was 1010. It is what it is. All right, so the fast forward speed cannot concentrate storms near the center. However, as the hurricane hunters have indicated in their most recent flight, it is starting to show some signs of organization. Now, it's not alone in the Atlantic Basin, although this is the most imminent threat to any land masses, really, that's of note. PTC2, and then we've got 95L, 40% chance of developing, and another wave. These chances have actually been downgraded down to 10%. within the next 5 days. Here's visible imagery. Of course, the sun is going down, so we're losing that image. But in the last few, you can see some of that circulation certainly evident and some convection beginning to flare up. Oh, there. Now it's gone, but there is some there. We can switch things up, show you relative vorticity, the atmospheric spin. Yesterday, much more broad, strewn about, basically because of its interaction with South America. It was close to the coast there, and the terrain features would disrupt the spin. Now it's starting to get a little bit more circular, a little bit more consolidated, a sign of it starting to at least show some meager organization. Water vapor imagery, dry air, moist air. We've got a lot of moist air. Dry air is not an issue. It hasn't been for this system at all. Any dry air is here up north of Puerto Rico, indicated by the copper color, and that's actually some Saharan dust. Not going to be impacting PTC2, which will be Bonnie. All right, here's the most recent flight out of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. U.S. Air Force Hurricane Hunter aircraft flying another mission. I think we're up to 10 or 12 missions so far flown into this system since they flew out and forward deployed to Barbados. NOAA did, and St. Croix in the Virgin Islands, the Air Force did. Clocked a wind speed of 32 miles an hour. I mean, it's not 40 miles an hour. It's not tropical storm force, but that's just within one of those areas. It is still flying around the system right now. And I want to show you that the flare-up of that convection near the center is notable. It's the best, the biggest increase in intensity I think we've seen so far with this storm. Here's the brand new track update. Well, this is coming off of the earlier update at 5 o'clock, but no real changes to it. Pretty much due west. Still expected to strengthen 50 miles per hour by tomorrow afternoon. That would put it at a tropical storm, if in fact it gets that defined center. Remember that. And then it moves towards the coast of Nicaragua and Costa Rica. Then it reemerges out into the Pacific, the Eastern Pacific Basin. Strengthens, becoming a hurricane up to 80 miles an hour, Category 1 hurricane. Now, what's going to be interesting to watch here is if it does maintain its circulation, it will keep the name Bonnie as it transfers basins. Unusual. It will, however, get a new name. Say, for some reason, that when Bonnie is just barely Bonnie, just barely a tropical storm, it's kind of off its kilter, unbalanced, it hits land, and it completely falls apart. Unlikely, but say it does. It gets a new name at that point, and forgive me, I forget what the next name is on the Pacific Basin list, but it would get a new name on that list, and Bonnie would just survive for 12 hours or so as it transitions over South America. Now, that is notable if it does maintain its name, because that would join the list of 6 other storms since 1990 that have done so, that have crossed basins and kept their name. Most recently was Otto in 2016, so it's been a while since that has happened, and that would join the list there. We go all the way back to Diana in 1990, and then Hermine, which came out of the Eastern Pacific and transitioned into the Atlantic, and actually made landfall near Brownsville, Texas. So an interesting little trivia note there. Somebody posted in the comments wanting to know about that, which storms did that. So there you go. All right, here's a look again at how things look with Invest 95L. Not much has changed with this thing either over the last 24 hours. Still remain at 40% chance. What has changed, as I mentioned when we first began this video, is now it's moving due north at 6 miles per hour. It was expected to move west for quite a while longer, moving over land. I'm not going to say landfall because it's not a tropical system. Moving over land north of Corpus Christi and then turning due north, passing to the west of Houston and southeast Texas. It's now moving due north. So that does add a variable to the equation that it's now going to be spending a little bit more time over very warm ocean waters. Overall environment, though, is not particularly conducive for it to strengthen, because check this out. We've got visible imagery, the last couple images of it as the sun goes down. Here is the low-level center. You can see it spinning. It's exposed. Its low-level spin is exposed. All the convection, all the puffy, high, cold cirrus clouds and thunderstorm clouds are off to the northeast. Now, they are displaced because wind shear is pushing those, is tilting the system. Tilted systems do not develop. They need to be vertically built. Not the case this time with 95L, but with it being over water a little bit longer, certainly needs to be watched until it moves over land and is away from its fuel source. Here's a better look of that. I mean, barely anything from this low-level center here. Had some convection earlier, but that just gets blown off to the north and east. So sea surface temperatures with this, still warm. We've been showing you this for the past couple days. And mid to upper 80s. All you need is 80-degree water temperature. Certainly has it. Spaghetti plots on this takes it due north, just to the west of downtown Houston, but the heaviest rain looks likely to set up well to the east. Check it out here. There's the models, European model here, running a model showing, 5-6 inches in areas from Galveston Bay to Beaumont and even into Cameron Parish in southern Louisiana, seeing the brunt of the heaviest rainfall. All areas that are experiencing extreme drought conditions, which is great for them. They need the rain, but so does so many other people off to the west as well. Just not going to get it this time around. It'll come eventually. All right, until next time, that's your latest on the tropics. You can find me on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on the TikTok now, so find me there. I post some pretty cool little short videos on science and weather and things like that. Also on all the other platforms as well. I hope you enjoy your Thursday. I'll see you again tomorrow.